Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today I'm in this 2019 Mercedes E-Class. This model is known as the W213 and it ran from 2016 until the present day, although it did have a facelift in 2020. I bought this recently and it occurred to me this is probably the only generation of modern E-Class that I haven't done a video with. As competent as the E-Class always is, I just always rather have a BMW 5 Series instead. However, this latest model, this 5th generation, is that good. This might have changed my mind. Firstly, you've got the styling. Now, E-Classes of old always seem to be classy and dignified, but they're just not very cool. The Mercedes E-Class, in my mind, has always been a car for the older gent. You know, full of chrome, small wheels, a wishy-washy colour. The kind of car that just looks right parked outside the golf club. I don't think anyone under 40's ever lusted after a silvery blue, middle-of-the-road Mercedes saloon. But this W213 has changed that. This somehow manages to be both classy and cool. Of course, the fact that this is the sporty AMG line model greatly helps. The wheels are beautiful. I love the front grille. I think the rear end's very sleek. I love the headlamps. It's all very confident. In fact, that's a good word to use. The whole car just oozes confidence. It knows exactly who and what it is. Mercedes' saloon car lineup these days is a bit like Russian dolls. They all look very similar. In fact, from a distance, I struggle to tell the difference between a C and an E, or an E and an S. That's not a bad thing necessarily, but for me it's the E-Class that's the Goldilocks car. It's the right size package for these tiny European roads. It's sleek and clean and modern, and they've done away with the bonnet ornament, which makes it slightly less Terry and June. This model, for some unfathomable reason, has been fitted with an AMG badge on the boot, which tells us that the previous owner was a big fat liar. In fact, that reminds me, I was chatting with a customer some years ago and he told me that he just bought a new Mercedes. So I said, oh right, okay, which one? He said, oh, an AMG E-Class. I said, oh right, wow, I love those. The 63. He said, no, the 220 diesel, AMG line. Oh right, so you haven't bought an AMG Mercedes, have you? What he meant to say, I think, was that he had AMG mats. I don't know why people do that, it's embarrassing. Anyway, moving inside the new E-Class, this is where it gets interesting. And in my mind, this is where it overtakes the BMW 5 Series. I've been in lots of new E-Classes over the years, usually late at night as a passenger, when I can't see straight or remember where I live. Let me explain, these cars are very popular with Uber premium drivers. Now when it's late at night and you're trying to get an Uber, a standard Uber, sometimes it just isn't possible because they're all out. But if you pay a little bit extra and go for an Uber premium, all of a sudden out of thin air, an E-Class arrives and whisks you home. What usually happens next is a series of slurry, mumbled exchanges where I'm trying to compliment the driver on his choice of wheels. Before the usual, can you take me to a McDonald's drive-through, please? I'm a bit peckish. That sort of thing. Only for me to deeply regret it the next morning. Now I know I'm usually in an inebriated state whilst I'm travelling one of these as a passenger, but I'm always impressed. Especially at night, because you've got this lovely mood lighting which you can change the colour of. I love this solid horizontal strip which houses the air vents. It's textured and it's just much more interesting than solid black plastic. I also love this natural wood they've used here. Again, it's just much more interesting than that piano black that everybody seems to use these days. It's all really stylish and sophisticated. It's timeless. And I love this huge infotainment screen which dominates the dash. The quality and the clarity is superb, as is the reverse camera. Okay, the infotainment system's still a little bit fiddly to use, but you do get used to it with time. I also love the amount of room that you get, no matter where you sit. That's mainly thanks to the fact that this 5th generation E-Class is 43mm longer than the previous E. Thanks to the glass roof, you get so much natural light in this car. I mean, without privacy glass, you could almost use it to grow tomatoes in. Straight away, I can tell you this is a car that you could do lots of miles in. There is a little bit more road noise than I was expecting. Then again, this particular car has done 96,000 miles in 3 years. It isn't as quiet or refined as the Jaguar XJ that I filmed with yesterday, although having said that, that is in a different class, isn't it? Although I'd say it's no less comfortable. It rides really well, this. The boot is a good size at 540 litres. For the passengers then, the E-Class experience is lovely, but then that's kind of always been the case. It's for the driver where the E-Class experience is usually lacking. Not that they're bad to drive, but they're just missing that little bit extra, that key ingredient which turns a good car into a great one. Now you'll be wondering if Mercedes have found that missing ingredient, that little splash of something which will tempt BMW drivers out of the 5 Series. Have they? Not really. But it is comfortably the best driving E-Class so far. And crucially, if you're sat at a set of traffic lights in your new E-Class and somebody pulls up alongside you in a BMW 5 Series, you're no longer going to be green with envy. So I think really this is as good as it gets. It's a pleasure to drive and a pleasure to be in. Under the bonnet of this one, surprise surprise, is a turbo diesel engine, but it's not the one that you'd expect. Mercedes have done away with their old prehistoric 2.1 litre turbo diesel engine, which was a bit coarse and a bit antiquated, and they've replaced it with this 2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel, which is much smoother and more refined. This particular one puts out 188 brake horsepower. So if you plant your foot into the carpet, it's quite adequate really. It doesn't exactly pin you into your seat, but that is already at some serious speed. This is, I suspect, the engine that everybody will plump for, because it's the best all-rounder. It's capable of 40 miles per gallon round town, close to 60 on a motorway run, and it's cheap to tax. It wins on all fronts. There's also a 6-cylinder turbo diesel if you want a bit more oomph, or there are loads of petrols to choose from. The petrol range starts from a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder petrol all the way to a big V8 found in the tyre shred in E63. There's even a hybrid model too, in case you live in California. Gearbox wise, for a short period until 2018, you could buy the E200 as a manual, but that isn't something that I'd recommend. I've always found Mercedes manual gearboxes to just feel weird, just feel out of place. The automatics use a new 9-speed box, which you might think is too many cogs, but it works really well. And you've got the paddles behind the steering wheel, so you can change gear manually. It's all very quick to respond. One piece of advice if you're thinking about buying one of these cars, you must go for the premium model, or the premium plus if your budget will stretch. Because in those models you get all the extras that one would expect from a Mercedes-Benz. Things like a sunroof, electrically controlled seats. You can even control the passenger side seat from the driver's side. The E-Class is also available as a coupe, a convertible, or an estate, and they're all good looking, particularly the coupe. I think the lines of that coupe are just gorgeous. In terms of reliability and servicing, once it's out of warranty, I wouldn't bother taking it back to a Mercedes main dealer. I'd find a good specialist and just stick with them. I always use a Mercedes specialist in Stockport called SPR, who I should really stop promoting because they're always fully booked when I need them. But they are very good and I can honestly recommend them. I'd also recommend filling it up with premium fuel at least every other fill up. It'll just help to keep things running well, keep everything clean. The diesels all use AdBlue, which you fill up in the same place as the diesel. Well, right next door actually. Apart from the odd sensor failing, something like an O2 sensor or a NOx sensor, if you service it well and treat it with respect, it should serve you well. These engines can do lots of miles. Traditionally, the E-Class is one of Mercedes' best-selling models, and you can see why. It's a jack of all trades. They look good as a chauffeur car, taking minor celebrities to the airport. They're used in Berlin as taxis, and they're used in Manchester to take drunken used car dealers home after too much to drink. They're a very well-rounded car, and the interior and exterior of this 5th generation would be enough to tempt me into one. Used prices here in the UK start at around £18,000, but for that you're going to get a high mileage, low spec model. You'll have to spend around £25,000 to get a nice AMG line model in premium spec, and you're going to be talking the best part of £30,000 for a premium plus with low mileage. But in my opinion that's a price worth paying because I could certainly live with this car. It's got an awful lot going for it. Overall it just feels clever, and I think you'll feel clever for buying one. Well, I think that's about it. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know below. I'll do my best to get back to you. If you're interested in getting into the used car business, then check out my online course. I've created an online portal with nearly 100 videos which explain every single aspect of the used motor trade. How to start, funding, branding, sourcing cars, preparing cars for sale. It's all there, so do check it out. Plus, it's now free for the first 30 days and only £27 a month after that, and you can cancel at any time. So, yeah, cheers guys, I'll see you next time.